From female players breaking down under pressure, to unbelievable decisions that ended major championship dreams, these are the most controversial plays in women's golf history. And first, we start with one of the greatest female golfers of all time. Imagine this. You're Lexi Thompson, one of the brightest stars in women's golf. You're leading the Pelican Women's Championship with just 2 holes to play. The crowd is buzzing. The trophy is almost yours, and all you need to do is close it out. But golf is rarely that simple. It all began on the 17th hole. Thompson stood over a 3-foot par putt, a putt so routine that it's practically muscle memory for a pro. The gallery held its breath, and then the unthinkable. The ball veered left, missing the hole entirely. You could feel the tension shift in the air as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Still ahead, but only just, Thompson arrived at the 18th hole needing a birdie to secure the win. It was a 4-foot putt, longer than the last, but nothing extraordinary for a player of her caliber. The anticipation in the crowd was electric. She struck the ball cleanly and watched in disbelief as it lipped out. With those 2 misses, Thompson found herself in a 4-way playoff against Nelly Korda, Lydia Ko, and Se-Young Kim. On the first playoff hole, Thompson's approach shot was nearly perfect, landing just 5 feet from the pin. Redemption was within reach. But as fate would have it, the birdie putt slid past the cup once more. Meanwhile, Korda sank her putt to claim the championship. For Thompson, it wasn't just about losing a tournament, it was about losing it in a way that will haunt her highlight reel forever. Here's a moment that's as brutal as it is unforgettable. Number 10 on our list takes us to the 2005 U.S. Women's Open at Cherry Hills, where Lorena Ochoa's dreams of her first major title unraveled in shocking fashion. The scene was set for drama. Ochoa had rallied back from a tough start to put herself in contention on the final hole. A playoff was within reach, until the 18th hole stood between her and a chance at history, a par 5 that demanded precision off the tee to clear the lake and find the fairway. But golf can be merciless, and on this day, it was downright cruel. Standing on the tee, Ochoa knew exactly what she needed to do, but at the worst possible time, her driver betrayed her. The club struck the ground before the ball, sending it skimming across the water like a skipping stone before sinking to the depths. The crowd gasped, but the nightmare wasn't over. Her second drive found the rough, and her approach shot sailed into the grandstands. By the time she finally holed out, the scoreboard told the story. A quadruple bogey 8. From the edge of a playoff to a tie for 6th, her hopes of glory were drowned on the 18th. Ochoa's final words after the round: "I should have done better." For a player of her caliber, it was a heartbreaking end to what could have been a career-defining moment. Now at number 9, think you've had a rough day? Let me tell you about Michelle Wie's unbelievable Saturday at the 2008 State Farm Classic. She wasn't just playing well, she was on fire. And then, in one devastating moment, everything fell apart. Here's the setup. Wie had just shot a stunning 67 in her 3rd round, climbing into 2nd place and putting herself in prime position to chase down Yani Tseng, the tournament leader. She was 1 stroke back, with all the momentum heading into the final round. The crowd was buzzing, the media was ready to declare her back, and it felt like Wie's moment to shine. But golf, as we know, can be cruel, and this collapse didn't happen on the course. It happened off of it. After finishing her 2nd round, Wie made a mistake that no pro ever wants to make. She forgot to sign her scorecard. Simple, right? A quick signature, and she's off to prepare for the next day. But here's the catch. By the time anyone realized the error, it was too late. Rule 6-6B of the USGA rulebook is unflinching. Once a player leaves the designated scoring area without signing their card, the score becomes official, and any corrections are invalid. The worst part? She didn't find out until after her brilliant 3rd round. That 67, her ticket to Sunday contention, didn't matter. Instead of competing for the title, Wie was handed a disqualification. Just like that, her tournament was over. So let's keep going. Here we are at number 8, and this one takes us to the historic fairways of St. Andrews, the home of golf. The stakes couldn't have been higher. World number 1, Nelly Korda was on the verge of cementing her legacy, chasing her 2nd major of the year with a 2-shot lead and just 5 holes to play. But then, everything changed. It all began on the par 5 14th, a hole that had been yielding birdies all week. Korda's drive was solid, and everything seemed under control. But her 4th shot, a tricky pitch, failed to clear the steep bank guarding the green. The ball rolled agonizingly back, leaving her with an awkward fifth shot. Another misstep followed, and by the time she finally holed out, she had carded a double bogey 7. Her lead was gone in an instant. The cracks started to widen. On the iconic road hole, the infamous 17th disaster struck again. Korda's tee shot found the dreaded road hole bunker, a trap that has humbled legends for over a century. Her first attempt to escape? A misfire. The second, barely better. By the time she tapped in for bogey, the writing was on the wall. Meanwhile, Lydia Ko was the picture of composure. As Korda struggled, Ko quietly played steady, confident golf. A birdie at the 18th sealed her victory at 7 under par, and with it, the major title. For Korda, it was a bitter pill to swallow, from a position of control to watching her chance at glory slip away. Moving on to number 7, we revisit one of the most shocking back nine collapses in recent golf history. Minjee Lee's final round at the 2024 U.S. Women's Open wasn't just a bad day at the office. It was a heartbreaker for the ages. Let me set the scene for you. You're Minjee Lee, a two-time major champion and one of the game's brightest stars. Heading into Sunday at Lancaster Country Club, you're tied for the lead, and by the 7th hole, you've built a 3-shot cushion. The trophy is practically in your grasp, and everything seems to be falling into place. But golf is never that predictable. The cracks started to show on the 10th hole. A wayward drive, an errant approach shot, and suddenly, a comfortable par turns into a frustrating bogey. No big deal, right? Except, it wasn't just one mistake. It was the beginning of a spiral. Bogeys started piling up, each one chipping away at her lead. By the time she reached the 14th hole, her once commanding cushion had vanished. And then came the par 3 16th, a hole that will likely haunt her forever. A mishit tee shot, a disastrous chip. And before she knew it, she was writing down a double bogey. Her final score? A shocking 78. 7 strokes worse than Yuka Saso, who played with surgical precision to clinch her second U.S. Women's Open title. One moment, you're cruising to victory. The next, you're barely in the top 10. Coming in at number 6, we witness perhaps the most gut-wrenching 2 feat in women's golf history. Lexi Thompson's 2017 collapse at the CME Group Tour Championship isn't just a story about missing a short putt. It's about watching a whole season's worth of achievements slip away in seconds. Let me paint you a picture that'll make any golfer cringe. You're Lexi Thompson. You've had an emotional roller coaster of a year, including that controversial penalty at the ANA Inspiration that cost you a major title. But here you are standing over a 2-foot putt on the final hole of the season's last tournament. Make it, and you're not just the player of the year, you'll become the world number 1. Plus an extra $500,000 in prize money. Miss it. Well, nobody's thinking about missing it because it's 2 feet, but sometimes golf can be unbelievably cruel. The gallery was silent. The trophy was practically being engraved. Then, in a moment that seemed to unfold in slow motion, Thompson's putter moved forward. The ball started on line, then, inexplicably, lipped out. The collective gasp from the crowd said it all. What makes this collapse even more dramatic? This wasn't just any tournament. This was the culmination of a season where Thompson had shown incredible resilience. After being hit with that 4-stroke penalty at the ANA Inspiration for a violation that a TV viewer spotted and reported, she'd bounced back to win twice and rack up multiple second-place finishes. Despite the devastating missed putt, Thompson still walked away with the Vare Trophy for the season's lowest scoring average and a $1 million bonus for winning the race to CME Globe. In the end, as you see, everything turns out fine, I guess. It's time for number 5 on our list. And Lorena Ochoa's stunning collapse at the 2007 Gin Tribute, hosted by Annika, might be one of the most shocking mental errors in golf history. Heading into the back 9 of the final round, Ochoa, then the world's top-ranked female golfer, held a 3-stroke lead. Victory seemed inevitable. But the back 9 had other plans. Ochoa's struggles began on the 15th hole, where a misjudged approach shot led to a bogey. By the time she reached the 18th, her lead had dwindled to just 1 shot. Nicole Castrale, steady and composed, was waiting to pounce. Then came the first playoff hole and the unthinkable happened. Ochoa stepped up to the tee, and her drive veered left, straight into a hazard. The misstep was devastating. While Ochoa struggled to recover, Castrale stayed composed, finding the fairway and setting herself up for a routine par. When the final putt dropped, it was Castrale claiming her first LPGA title, leaving Ochoa to wonder how a tournament she had controlled for so long slipped through her fingers. And now at number 4, we have a moment so shocking. It left fans around the world absolutely speechless. Nelly Korda, world number 1, the face of women's golf, and a player known for her calm under pressure, suffered a meltdown at the 2024 KPMG Women's PGA Championship that no one saw coming. Let's rewind. Korda entered the year riding high, having finally claimed her first major championship. She looked unstoppable, the kind of player who could contend every single week. But heading into Sahalee, the cracks were already starting to show. 2 missed cuts in her last 2 starts had raised some eyebrows. Still, this was Nelly Korda. Surely, she'd bounce back on a stage as big as the Women's PGA, right? Not quite. Her first round was shaky but salvageable, a 3 over par 75 that kept her within reach of the cut line. But Friday? Friday was an entirely different story. From the moment she teed off, it was clear something was off. Bogeys piled up like a slow-moving train wreck, 8 in total by the time she reached the clubhouse. And the par 5 11th? A disastrous double bogey sealed her fate. The final scorecard? A jaw-dropping 81, leaving her at 9 over par and miles outside the cut line. For a player of Korda's caliber, it was nothing short of stunning. What makes this moment so memorable isn't just the numbers, it's the context. This was her 3rd consecutive missed cut, a shocking downturn for someone who had been the best player in the world just months earlier. To go from the heights of major glory to this kind of struggle left fans and commentators alike wondering, what happened to Nelly Korda? Yes, you've made it to our top 3, and here we're taking you to the 1990 US Women's Open, where Patty Sheehan delivered one of the most unbelievable meltdowns in golf history. This wasn't just a loss, it was a masterpiece of heartbreak on the biggest stage. All right, let's set the scene. Patty Sheehan was at the height of her powers, the world's top-ranked player, with 23 LPGA Tour wins under her belt. She arrived at Atlanta Athletic Club's Riverside course and immediately started dismantling the field. By the end of the 3rd round, Sheehan had a commanding 11-shot lead. 11. That's not a lead, that's a canyon. To put this in perspective, in the previous 60 years of US Open history, nobody had ever lost a lead that big in the final round. Well, somebody had to be first, right? The collapse started subtly, almost too quietly. A missed fairway here, an awkward chip there. Still, Sheehan seemed to have plenty of room for error. That was until she reached the back 9. Suddenly, her game went into free fall. Fatigue and dehydration kicked in, and the invincible Patty Sheehan started looking vulnerable. By the 11th hole, defending champion Betsy King had erased the gap. King, calm and relentless, played like someone who knew how to win on this stage. Meanwhile, Sheehan couldn't stop the bleeding. The bogeys piled up and her once massive lead evaporated into thin air. Then came the 18th hole. She needed a birdie to force a playoff, and Sheehan found herself standing over a putt that would define her tournament. The gallery was silent. The tension was unbearable. And then, the ball missed. Just like that, the dream was over. Sliding into number 2. Imagine this. IK Kim is standing on the 18th green at the Kraft Nabisco Championship. She's 1 stroke ahead of the leader in the clubhouse and 2 strokes clear of the only remaining challenger on the course. The trophy is practically hers. All that stands between Kim and her first major championship is a putt so short it's almost insulting. This is supposed to be the moment of celebration. The crowd goes silent as IK Kim steps up to the ball. 1 foot, that's all. It's the kind of putt you'd make 99 times out of 100 without even thinking about it. But this isn't practice. This is a major championship, and the pressure is suffocating. She strokes the ball, and it misses. Not just barely. It doesn't even touch the hole. The gallery gasps. Kim looks as though she's been struck by lightning. With the miss, she's forced into a playoff with Sun Young Yu, and the writing is already on the wall. The playoff begins, but Kim is still reeling. On the first hole, Yu stays ice cold, draining a clutch birdie putt while Kim falters. It's over. What was supposed to be Kim's crowning moment has transformed into one of the most devastating collapses in golf history. And finally, the big number 1, the Queen of Meltdowns. Here's Lexi Thompson's 2021 US Women's Open collapse, a meltdown so spectacular it actually helped create one of golf's biggest stars. But first, it had to break her. Thompson had been in control all week at the Olympic Club. She started her final round with a near eagle on the very first hole, missing by just 6 feet, and tapped in for birdie. By the time she hit the middle of the front nine, she had built a commanding 5-shot lead. The victory lap seemed inevitable. But then the cracks began to show. From the outside, Thompson looked steady, but golf analyst Brandel Chambly noticed something troubling. After watching her narrowly miss that eagle putt on the first hole, he remarked, "She missed the center of her putter face by half an inch. I've never seen a professional golfer miss the center of the putter by a wider margin." It was a subtle misstep, but in the high-stakes world of major championship golf, small cracks can quickly become gaping holes. And that's exactly what happened. The back nine became a nightmare. Bogeys crept onto her scorecard, and the once dominant lead began to evaporate. The relentless challenge of the Olympic Club, combined with the mounting pressure of chasing her first U.S. Women's Open title, seemed to unravel her game. As the round wore on, you could feel the tension rising shot by shot. By the time she reached the 18th hole, Thompson's lead was gone. She needed a par putt to force a playoff and keep her hopes alive. The moment was hers for the taking, one last chance to salvage victory. But under the crushing weight of the moment, the putt slid agonizingly past the hole. The bogey sealed her fate. A 5/41 on the back nine left her one stroke short of the playoff. Walking off the green, Thompson offered a brave smile and hugs to her fellow competitors, but the heartbreak was undeniable. Looking back, that missed eagle putt on the first hole feels like a harbinger of the unraveling to come. A moment that symbolized how the smallest missteps can snowball into disaster in the unforgiving game of golf. Oh, and if you enjoyed this video, we have another amazing video for you right in the middle of the screen. Enjoy!